Hello there. So today we're taking a deep dive into the topic of needs. I'm Shauna White, heartfelt relationship coach, and I help people who want to show up fully for love to create heartfelt intimacy that flows naturally. And the domain of needs is the most beautiful hotspot for where everything goes right or wrong in relationships. So this is why I'm always talking about needs, or often talking about needs. And I had two people on my Wednesday conversation on my profile and in my group about needs ask a beautiful question. What is a need? Define needs. That's such a beautiful question. And one of the things I love about it, besides just, I love this topic in general, but that question is so astute and beautiful because one of the most important things that we can do is step back behind our perspective and wonder what's the nature of what we're, like step back behind our assumptions, step back behind the things we think are given and ask a question about those. That's when things really get deep and where a lot of the healing really needs to happen. So our topic for today is, what is a need? And I want to start with, well, first of all, if you're joining me live, then please put #live in the comments. And if you're catching the replay, #replay, that would be great. That's fun for me to know. Okay, so needs, to help us understand needs, let's compare needs and wants, first of all. So how would you define a need versus a want? I would say that a need is something that you can't do without. A need, you need it. Whereas compared to something that we could say is a want, where you're okay if you don't have it, but value is added if you can have it, right? So a need, it's not really optional. So let's look at some examples, right? So food and water is a need, right? You need that for your survival. Do you need connection? Is connection a need? Do you need connection? If you feel like connection is a need, I'm not going to make it all about you, right? But if you feel like people need connection and that's an honest need, then put #connection in the comments. I want to know what your vote is, right? Then we've got I need connection from you. Do you need connection from a particular person? And this is a good question because the primary domain that I play in when it comes to creating harmonious, amazing experiences of connection is in romantic partnership. And in that domain, I need connection from you is a sentiment that comes up often. So I need connection from you. Would you say that that's a need or a want? And put #from you in the comments if you say that that's a need. Or whatever you want to say in the comments to make it to vote on that. That would be fun. Okay, I have notes, so I'm looking down every now and then. Okay, so I've got another question for you. Another example. I need a pencil. Do you need a pencil? Do I need a pencil? How do we know if I need a pencil, right? Is it, I need a pencil for what? For what do I need a pencil? So this is important because there's always a hidden context when we're talking about needs and wants. There's always what do you want it for, or what do you need it for? We need food and water for survival, right? I might need a pencil for some very important paperwork that I need in order to be able to accomplish, I don't know, to get my passport. I don't know. I'm thinking, Usually you need a pen when it comes to things like that, but I have this leftover impression from high school where you need a number 2 pencil for your test. So you need a pencil to graduate from high school. So yeah. So if you need a pencil for important paperwork, is that a need or a want? And if you say that's a need, put #pencil in the comments. And this is kind of fun and funny, but it's a really good beginning for where I'm going with this. So needs have a context, right? So there's a context about survival. There's a context of making the progress you want to make in your life. For instance, if you want to graduate high school, you need a number 2 pencil. And then the context that is the domain that I help people in is relationships in general. So it could be relationships in family or relationships in your workplace, but particularly the juiciest arena is in relationships of an intimate partnership nature. So within this context, I want to highlight 3 categories of needs. The first one is what you need to maintain your own personal balance. That kind of a need is a need for self-care. It's a need for space. It's a need for sleep. It's a need for eating well, not just from the perspective of survival, but also from the perspective of, or particularly from the perspective of like hormonal balance and a wellness feeling in your body, which gives you a foundation of peace on a chemical level that allows you to show up with more bandwidth and patience in your relationship. So, so needs for self-care can get easily derailed by subconscious patterns, beliefs, and wounds inside us that convince us that we have a competing need, a need that competes with our self-care. So, for instance, I need to bend over backwards so that the people I love will love me. I need to bend over backwards for them so the people I love will love me. This could be a subconscious belief that drives you to do things that are insensitive to your own self-care. So you're not noticing necessarily where's the balance between giving to others and taking care of yourself. And it's subconsciously driven. I lived with this for decades. I was not someone that would try to control other people to make love work. I was someone who would try to pretzel myself into whatever posture, position, service, twister experience I needed to do. I thought I needed to do in order to win the love again and again and again of the people whose love I valued. So I know that one. If you know that one, then how about #pretzel in the comments? So, and then that can lead to resentment. Depends on how committed you are to that and how much you are aware of your own self-care needs or not. I was not really, I felt like an Olympic athlete for championing love at the expense of my own self-care. And so I didn't even, it wasn't even on my map to, I don't know. So I didn't resent giving, derailing my own self-care, because for me, that was like a demonstration of self-sacrifice that made me feel good about myself. So that's where I was at with it. How about you? Do you feel so good about self-sacrifice that you don't even, as self-sacrifice as a demonstration for love, that you don't even feel resentment from not taking care of yourself in lieu of trying to take care of the people you love? Or do you have enough of a sense of you're not such a kamikaze pilot when it comes to love, that you actually do feel like you need the self-care that's on your radar. And so when you bend over backwards for the people that you love, because your subconscious says, that's how I get love, that's what I need to do to be loved, do you feel resentment? So you could do #resentment, or you could do #sacrifice, depending which one you connect with more. And I really enjoy your participation. Let me know that I'm not alone in these experiences. So, yes, so it's important for, as we're finding how to open up the flow of heartfelt intimacy in our relationship, one of the elements is that we've got to find that subtle awareness of what our self-care is and what we think we need that tricks us into derailing our self-care, neglecting our self-care, because it's really important for us to walk in personal balance. Our personal balance is really important as the foundation for everything else. And I'm going to start to talk about everything else now. So the second type of need, right? The first type of need is your need for personal balance. The second type of need that comes up in relationship is, I need you to do this. I need this from you. The things that you want, not for your personal space, but the things that you want for the shared space. You want to feel more closeness from your partner. Now, I'm going to say something that might sound uncomfortable. This phrasing, I need you to do this, is controlling. And I don't want you to feel bad if that comes up, okay? I did plenty of controlling stuff myself. Even though I said to you, it's totally true that I was not someone to control another person. The thing is that I was really trying hard to control my life. I was really trying hard to reverse engineer a good feeling inside myself by trying to get the situation that I wanted out there. And that's control. And even though I didn't direct it in an overbearing way at the object of desire, my prior boyfriends and relationships of unconventional kinds, wherever, I had one very long relationship with a man who had different ideas about what he needed, the situation he wanted to fulfill. But he really liked me too. So we went back and forth in a gray area for a very long time. That was the hardest relationship experience that I've ever had, the hardest on my heart. It was also the greatest teacher of what I don't want, that I thought I did want for a very, very long time. And it is the relationship that actually convinced me to finally confront my subconscious wounds and reconcile them and let them go so that I could be ready for a genuinely healthy love. So I have gratitude for that extremely extended, painful experience. So much gratitude for that. And gratitude for where I am now in a relationship with someone, albeit long distance, that is so incredibly healing and feels so naturally right. So that's what's on the other side of reconciling our subconscious beliefs. But back to needs. So the first kind of need is our need for personal balance. The second kind of need that comes up in relationship is what we think we need from our partner that is actually an expression of control. And those don't go over very well. Our partner is usually like, well, they'll get defensive or they'll shut down. Sometimes you have a situation where your partner actually likes being controlled. And that's usually in the beginning. It gets old after a while, but in the beginning, when someone has a poor self-worth, as many of us walk around with, because that's kind of what this world teaches us, then that poor self-worth wants to be possessed, because the feeling of control feels like love. You love me enough that you want to control me. You need me. It feels like love to that personality profile that has a suffering sense of self-worth. So, but aside from that exception, generally speaking, control does not go over well. So when we express our needs to our partner, and this is one of the crazy things about relationship advice out there, is that trying to help people be healthy in their relationship with themselves, there's this advice that says express your needs to your partner. You need to communicate. You need to express your needs to your partner. Well, there's an underlying premise that the purpose of relationship is to fulfill each other's needs. This is a transactional perception. This is a consumerism perception. And I'm going to go a little deeper into this in just a minute, but I want to explain the third category of needs first. So the third category of needs is when you want to create something. Now we're into want. I don't need it, but I want it. So intimate partnership, you don't need it. Okay. In biology, they explain all the different characteristics of life. What makes is that it's animated and that it respirates and whatever, all these other things. And then reproduction is one of the characteristics of life, but it's the one characteristic of life that's not necessary for the individual to survive, right? So I very rarely go to the level of science because I live in this feeling place where science doesn't generally go, because it's really hard to measure. But it is true on a basic level that we can be fine without an intimate partnership, but it's something that we want, right? I imagine you might want it, especially if you're listening to me talk. And it's something that I've wanted in my life for a long time. But it's something that we add on top of the baseline. It adds value to our life, but we don't need it unless we feel like we do need it. And anyway, before I go there, so it's something that we want to create. Now, that is a privileged place. Like what I want to create in my life, in the terms of intimate partnership, I get to choose what that looks like. And I don't get to tell that person that they have to do it my way. But I do get to say that I'm showing up for these conditions. And if you want to join me in this space of intimate partnership, I'll consider it. But if you can't meet these specific conditions, my requirements for what I want to create, then I can't do this with you. And that's perfectly fine. So this is important to understand, because this is how we don't get into being a doormat, right? You don't, and this also goes back to taking care of your personal space. So for instance, I was in a relationship for 2.5 years with a gentleman whose gift to me was the gift of play, because I was so serious when I met him and he was so goofy all the time. But he turned out to be a very controlling person. And anyway, so towards the end of our relationship, he did this very soap opera move. We were having regular fights because he wanted to control and he wasn't trusting certain things. And I was honest, but he didn't believe what I was saying. And we were just not going anywhere except around in circles. So the way the circle would go is we would fight, and then he would give me back everything I ever gave him in this big box. So soap opera. And then and then we make up, and so I was like, well, you want all the stuff back? So I give it back to him. We only did it around that. The stuff with the stuff only happened like one time. But the fight and the makeup, that happened for a while. But at the end, he gave me back all my stuff. And then we made up and I gave it back to him. And then same old fight happened again. And he took the box of stuff, which he hadn't unpacked. It was on his porch. He picked it up and he threw it off of his porch onto his lawn. So it went probably like 6 feet down and 8 feet out or whatever. And I was like, this beep does not happen in my life. Like, this particular soap opera level of drama, I'm not putting up with this. This does not, it actually popped the bubble of attachment to him because it was so beyond what was acceptable to me. So I walked down the steps of his porch, and I don't know if he thought I was walking after the stuff or not. Who cares about the stuff? I walked past the stuff. I got in my truck. I drove away, and I did not talk to him again for, I don't know, a month and a half. And we had a brief conversation, and then that was it for years till I saw him on the street and said hello. But so that's my dramatic story to illustrate that you don't have to, just because, it would be controlling for me to say, you're not allowed to throw stuff off your porch. You're not allowed to. I need you to not be so dramatic. I need you to not give me all my stuff back just because we had a fight. That would be controlling, actually. I could, what's the word? Confront him on that. I could say, why are you giving me back all my stuff? That's like so soap opera. Why do you do that? And actually open up a conversation to try to get deeper under the behavior. That's totally legal without being controlling. But anyway, just because we don't want to, if you're in the same camp as me and you don't want to control in your relationship, that doesn't mean that you have to put up with stuff. You can also say, okay, well, this isn't working for me, and you can leave. And that's how you walk the line, basically. But here's another nuance about this. And then I'm going to go into the really deep nuance. So really a nuance about this part. Oh boy, I just lost it. Hang on a second. What was I just saying? Oh, I totally derailed myself into the other thing I was thinking. Okay, I guess we're going to go to the big thing because I don't remember what the other thing was. Sorry. All right. So, so here's the thing with needs and communicating in relation. Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, I'm really glad I remembered. Okay. So with creating what we want, and somebody can't necessarily fit what we want, right? Because this is something that we want and it's not something that we need, right? What we need is our personal balance. So as long as we have our personal balance, the reason we need our personal balance is because when we don't have our personal balance, we're dysfunctional. We can't show up well for ourselves or anybody else. So this is a need. When it comes to what we want to create in the area of intimate partnership, the person that we feel attracted to exploring this with, whether in a committed relationship or whether we're dating, we're still exploring that with someone. Okay. So I just so you know, I mean that in a way that even applies to the deepest sense of commitment. It should still be an experience of exploration. If it's not, you're taking the moment for granted, right? So as we explore this with someone, they may not exhibit behaviors that don't fit with what we want to create. But because this is a domain of what we want, as long as we keep our personal balance, we can give grace to the situation to explore with our partner this dynamic exchange that possibly allows them to see something that they want to see, that allows them to grow in a way that they want to grow, that allows them to come closer towards fulfilling the ideal that we signed up for, called intimate partnership. So there's this margin, this grace space in the domain of creating what we want and exploring creating what we want with someone in relationship. So it's not like black and white, like you violated, you're not fitting what's okay with me in this department, so now I have to leave. It's not like that. The example that I gave when he threw that stuff off, that was over the top, like no margin for that. So that's why I left. But I've had things come up with my sweetheart that I'm with now, where we made a plan to get together virtually because we're long distance. And then I was there at the time we said we were going to get together, and he wasn't, and he didn't communicate anything about a change. And that's, for me, like, generally speaking, that's like no go. Like, I don't like that. Not that I would break up with somebody over that, but I like communication. I don't see why there shouldn't be communication, just to make an update. And I sought to understand him rather than control him around that. And that opened up a space of grace in me for that. And he has also shifted his behavior in that area. He still has moments where he doesn't communicate, but I actually understand why that is for him. I don't feel like I need to control him to make him different. I still ask for the communication, or ask him why it didn't happen, so he can understand that I would like more communication, but we're working on it together, and it's not a deal breaker. So that's just an example of that. When we're working on what we want to create with someone, what we want to create for ourselves, and we're exploring that with someone, there's room for grace. So there can be things that we want that are the needs for what we want to create, but there's flexibility for grace in that. So that's what I want to say. Okay. So now I am going to the last point here, and this is going on for a while. If you're still with me, that's awesome. Okay. I'm going to pause for a minute and ask you to say in the comments, do you recognize personal space needs that you have? If you had any thoughts of your own personal experience that you could connect with personal space needs, put personal space in the comments, please. If you could find examples in your experience of where you felt controlled by your partner, where your partner was like, hey, I need you to do this, then put #controlled in the comments. If you if you don't want to answer this next question, that's okay. But if you do, I could certainly remember things that I've done that waxed controlling. So if you have recognized moments in your history, this is not about judging who you are right now, but if you recognize moments in your history where you used to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see how that was controlling, then put #controlling in the comments, or you don't have to if you don't want to. And then the third type is if you recognize needs that you had for what you wanted to create, then put #create in the comments. All right. Thank you for your participation. And here's where the rubber hits the road when it comes to needs, and particularly this domain of needs for connection, or the domain of this interplay with another person. It's so rich. I can't say that when you say this, that's controlling, and when you say that, that's totally fine, because it's not the words. It's never the words. It's never the tone. It's actually your energy. And what controls your energy is whether you are doing one of two things. Okay. Option one, and this is what we're taught to do in this world. Option one, in order to feel good, in order to feel good inside yourself, connected, loved, you're trying to engineer a situation out there. So you're reverse engineering a good feeling inside yourself. I need you to give me flowers on, and you would never say this, okay, but I'm just going to use this formula as if you feel like you need flowers on Valentine's Day in order to feel good, and otherwise you don't. This is reverse, it's an example of reverse engineering a good feeling inside. If you feel like you need to, we'll take a bigger example. If you feel like you need to share a house with somebody, you need to live with somebody in order for your fairy tale dream of love to come true, that could be reverse engineering your happiness through an idea that will have an emotionally good feeling. Option 2, the other option is that you lean into connection inside yourself, which we're not taught how to do in this world. And you listen to what this inner connection has to say to you about the flow of expression in each moment. And that's the flow of your own expression. It's also the flow of expression with your partner. It's also the flow of your partner's expression. I'll give you an example. I have a family, not my own children. I share a house with my 95-year-old dad who is very independent and also benefits from being looked after to some degree. And I have a sister, and my sister has a new partner who she feels like she can share with the family more easily than other past relationships, I think. And something's different in this relationship. And so she wants to, not only that, whatever, I'm not going to go into all the things, but anyway, we have wanted to, she wanted to get together recently. We got together, then she wanted to get together again, like a family dinner. And my dad canceled, as he sometimes does. And so then we went to the next week, and we were possibly going to do it the next week. And I couldn't feel this dinner. Actually, it would have been tonight. I couldn't feel this. So I'm trying to talk to my dad about it, but I can't actually feel the energy moving. So I was like, okay, let me talk to my sister and see if she's even feeling the energy moving, because I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling the flow of this expression. Even though, yes, I want to have family dinners. Yes, I want to support all of us being together. But in this moment, this plan, I can't feel it. So I called her and talked to her about it, and she admitted she couldn't feel it either. But she had a lot of ideas that were motivating, wanting to create family time, and that's fine. All those concerns, all those ideas are valid, and I want to support and honor family time for all of those reasons, but not at the expense of harmonious flow with everybody concerned. And so I was really paying attention to reading the energy, and I couldn't feel it. So I got honest with her, and she got honest with me that she couldn't feel it either. So that's trying to give you a sense of what this thing is I'm talking about. That's flow. Feeling your own flow, feeling flow inside yourself, feeling flow towards or in your relationship with another person, and feeling flow for that person as well. When we go about life this way, we're going about life from the inside out instead of from the outside in, right? When we focus on the situation as a way to reverse engineer a good feeling, that's from the outside in. So, but when we focus from the inside out, that's how we can actually find the sweet spot where our needs are met, not because we're trying to make them happen, but because we're feeling the flow that the divine is setting up for everyone in the situation. And needs are naturally met in that way. And it can be hard to believe it the way I just said it, but when you have an opportunity to open it up step by step in your own experience, it actually really works. And so that's, you develop trust in it, not by the idea, but by actually taking it step by step. So that's where the whole question about needs is resolved. And that's where you find out what you actually need. Like the question that started this whole thing is, what is a need, right? And on the one hand, we can say, yeah, the things that we need for our survival and the things that we need for our personal balance, those are needs. But when we have our personal balance, that enables us to listen inside. And when we listen inside for that divine voice of energy moving through us and showing us what flow is, that voice is going to tell us what else is a need or not. And so it will guide us in how to relate to our world, our world, I say that generally, to our partner, to ourselves, to our partner, and to the things that we want to create step by step in a way that is not forcing and not holding back, but actually that sweet spot of authenticity where everything starts to flow. And that is the thing that I help people with, which is why I can help people create heartfelt intimacy that flows naturally, because I have 30 years of education and hard-won experience in how to walk from the inside out, how to conduct every aspect of your life, and particularly how to approach relationship from this place of inner listening. I have developed those skills for myself. Now it's a work in progress because you never stop going deeper in inner listening. But anyway, I'm just taking the opportunity to let you know, since I took us all the way on this journey to this point, to let you know that that is very specifically exactly what I help people with. And that's what unlocks the magic in relationship, where you feel like your needs are met, and yet there's no control and there's no force in how that's done. It's all done with flow, and it's a beautiful thing. So if you are having challenges in your relationship and you want to know more about how living from the inside out or coming to your relationship that way, what that could look like for you, let's have a chat. Put divine love in the comments. I got to remember all the things I tell you to put in the comments and what they mean. So just put divine love in the comments. I'll reach out to you, and we'll have a conversation. Alrighty. I hope that was fun and interesting, and I can't wait to hear what you liked about it, what you related to with all your comments, all your hashtags in the comments. Okay. Bye for now.